What up, nation? Welcome to another edition of the Wise Take MLB Wise Stream. CK013 here. You can find me on Twitter at CK_013. And of course, I'm joined once again by the GOAT, the true OG, that is known to many as Paulie D. You can find him on Twitter at Paulie with 8 Ds. If you got a problem, Paulie, what's happening?
What's happening, baby?
Didn't know if we were going to be here, bro. Really didn't know.
Did not
know.
Very grateful to,
Grateful to be here.
These dirty cops got to stop fucking with sports.
Dirty cops, stop fucking with sports, bro. Tired of it, man.
Stop murking people. Shoot them in the leg.
Yo, stop shooting people altogether, man. Stop shooting people. Yeah. Like, just don't. Like, just please. I just want...
At least definitely not 8 times. Once in the leg,
If truly...
gotta murder people.
Truly necessary, yes, but it's out of control. But, anyway, that's beyond our control. We're going to start worrying things that we can't control, and that is who the fuck we play on our DFS lineups tonight. Now that we do have a slate. Grateful to have a slate. And you know what? Not for nothing, bro, but on DraftKings, for like the stuff me and you like to play, like the 20-entry maxes and like the fields that aren't massive, crazy, like they had some pretty good contests for us today because they opened up the initial ones kind of smaller. So they just kept opening up more that were similar. So I'll take it. I'll take it. Make it take it. Oh, yeah, it's raining. I got some storms up here. Some storms. Yeah. They hit me with it's like an hour before the show, and they hit me with the whole, like, get downstairs ASAP thing. You know what I mean? I got hit with it hard and long. We got weather across the nation. I mean, across the nation, across the United States of America. But we do got some weather. So I'm going to go into that first so that we don't forget. Which, by the way, we didn't forget with that, what was the Braves game, that Garrett Cole day, where Garrett Cole got rained out. Like, we didn't forget about the weather. It didn't rain. I don't know. They canceled it because they thought there was rain somewhere around the vicinity, so they canceled it for a doubleheader, but it did not rain. So they could suck it. With that said, we've got yellow currently for Atlanta Philly, according to Kevin Roth, DFS meteorologist. He says storms should be clear or clearing by first pitch in Philly. Increasingly concerned about the field holding up because it's going to pour before the game, and I'm experiencing that a little bit now. I'm about an hour and a half north of Philly, and I'm experiencing heavy rains right now. But he has it as yellow. Chicago at Cincinnati, scattered pop-ups all over the place. No way to know if they'll be over the ballpark or not, but coverage looks fairly high. So that would mean a decent chance that one ends up over the park at some point. Starting pitchers would be very risky, and he can't call the hitters safe either. If Storms have stopped firing before first pitch, he can use a live radar to get a clear picture. But if Storms are still firing at that point, it's a total crapshoot. So a lot of risk. We are yellow.
Which one was that?
That was Cincinnati Cubs.
Yeah.
We've got yellow in the Kansas City and the White Sox. We've got models firing a broken line of T-Storms in the later innings. If it hits while the game is still going on, we could see a shortened game, though at this point he wouldn't call it the most likely outcome. That's an improvement. Earlier he had it as an orange yellow, so it has been an improved since then, which I'm very excited about. Here's one of the more interesting ones. We got Coors, a straight orange today. San Diego Padres and the Colorado Rockies. We've got rain will be lingering around Colorado most of the evening, especially early. This is the ugly end of a game that starts dry usually plays through light rain. A game that starts wet often never plays. Philosophy. There's options here. Maybe play in light rain. Maybe the rain is already clear. Maybe they late start and play, but we don't want to sit around. We don't want to sit around with COVID postponement is also a legitimate option at this point. And I'm glad he made that point because we've seen that. People not wanting to go through any kind of delay because they don't want to leave the players just sitting around in a dugout or enclosed area. So that's the weather we got. Kind of interesting. Well, it's a big-ass slate. It's not that bad when you consider how big of a slate it is.
Yeah.
$1 for $1.
Would you say that there's any that you would stay away from with bats because of weather?
I don't think so. I mean, Coors is the one, like, I have an offense that's right outside the cusp as usual, and Coors is the one that, like, I like the Padres. We'll talk about that. But I'm a little worried about that one But at the same time, it seems like when Coors has really won people tournaments has been when everybody's bailed because of weather, and then the few people that stayed on it were rewarded. So that's the only one, like, bats wise, that I'm concerned about. Everything else I think will be fine for bats. Like especially with these strikes, these guys are not in a position to cancel games, and you never know when they might start up again. Some dirty cop does the dirty to someone else, a negative dirty, of course, not the dirty as we do. And, you know, they fucking do another strike, we could lose another couple games. And they're having a hard time. They don't know when they're going to make some of these things up. So I think that as long as, you know, there's a possibility they'll try. If it's light rain, I think they'll try to play through it. But what the fuck do I know? I don't know shit about that shit. You know what I mean? We don't know nothing about the weather, about the game time calls, the grounds crew, the field. All I know how to do is tell you how to do the dirty. That's it. What I was put on this planet
it,
for.
man.
Yeah.
That's it.
With that said, we'll get into the slate. Nation, if you haven't hit the like button already, you know the drill. Please hit the like button. Chadwick Robinson says, I got the weather report. Fade Philly. Cincy and Colorado have a wet field. White Sox is good to go. Philly is the worst weather. Yet they announced delay, then after lock call the game like the Braves twice. That is true. I think the game's in Philly, right? Yeah, the game's in Philly, so I think the Philly has more of a say in this, but that is a good point. The Braves have been mad shady with this shit. Anyway, we'll get into the dirty. Paulie, talk to me about pitching.
All right. So, yeah. So you got Big Max up top. I can dig it. He's kind of pricey, like not pricey for him, but pricey for the slate. Although there are these like cheat code, almost min price value plays kind of scattered around the slate that if you do need them to jam in like an expensive stack with Scherzer, they are out there. But Boston's been bad. They do strike out. Scherzer's a GOAT. I do like him, but I don't think I'm going to use a ton of him. I find myself kind of needing the funds and, you know, kind of interchanging a couple guys a little bit lower. Meaning Zach Gallen is probably the guy I'm going to have the most of. I just think he's really good. You know, it's not a lefty against San Fran who does hit the ball well, doesn't strike out a ton. But I think he gets, 6-7 innings, minimal runs allowed, 6 to 7 or 8 strikeouts, solid performance at 9-7. We'll take. That's really it above 9.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think Max Scherzer is obviously expensive. I expect him to be the most popular SP1, but it's Max Scherzer. Boston has really not been good. They're striking out more than we're accustomed to with them. The park's not great, but it's still Max Scherzer, so I'm good with him, especially in cash. After that, I'm with you. I think Gallen's the next one up. The Giants are a team I don't like to pick on with lefties. In fact, I love stacking them against lefties. Their numbers against lefties are just off the charts. But the numbers were significantly worse against righties. That includes increased strikeouts and everything else that comes along with it. So Gallen's been fucking awesome. The roof is supposed to be open in Arizona, but as we've seen, that doesn't always mean jack shit because we've seen a few instances where that meant nothing. We've also seen a game recently where it started off like nothing and then all of a sudden teams just kind of teed off. But yeah, I like Gallen as well against the Giants. Tournament-wise, I'll probably have a little bit more of him. And the other guy I was going to consider, but now with the weather stuff, I'm getting a little nervous. Roth did downgrade the Philly game. So he's pretty sure it's going to be dry by first pitch. His concern is they just got hit with like a ton of rain, so he's worried about the field. So if we get like a late start of any kind, I'm probably going to bail because the rain is supposed to be stopping around that time. So if they tell me late start, that tells me the field's fucked up and they need time to fix the field, and they may ultimately decide to cancel the game after that, and it's too late for us to move. So on a 12-game slate, I'm hoping I don't have to go there. But I was interested in Wheeler simply because Wheeler's numbers don't make any kind of sense, bro. He's got like a 3.7 xFIP. He's got like almost an 11% swinging strike rate and like a 15% strikeout rate. Something's not right. Like it looks like he's due for some strikeout regression at some point, strikeout progression, whatever. And the Braves, as good as they are, then the Braves are good against righties, but they strike out a ton. They're like second or third or something like that in the league in strikeouts to righties. So it's like I was interested in him. Now that I'm getting a little nervous about him, I'll probably spread some more of that love over to some of the other options. But yeah, Gallen and Scherzer are the main two for me today. What about the mid tier?
Yeah, it's a little ugly. Lance McCullers, right? 2 weeks ago, I stacked against him. He fucking went out and did the dirty. A week ago, I used him. My lineup was soaring. I needed like a 14 from him to win like 50 grand. And he got me like a 2 or a -2. He sucked. He was awful. I think it was against San Diego. And I'm like, I'm lost. I'm not sure like who he is right now. Is there something seemed wrong with him? He like hit 2 guys. He walked 2. I don't know what to think. So I'll say that normally I would like this spot, but I would say it's very risky. But the A's have been striking out quite a bit. And McCullers does have good swing and strike stuff. So I think you get extremely low ownership with upside, but risky. He could also get blown the fuck up. So I may use him. I'm only building 3 teams today, so I don't know if he's going to make the cut. As we travel down the list, the next guy of interest to me would be nobody. Oh, Mike Minor. I like lefties against the Dodgers. They're ultimately like a really solid lineup, and I don't, like to pick on them a ton, but I do like lefties against the Dodgers. Mike Minor has not looked very good so far this year, but last year he was just as consistent as it got. They will let him throw 100-plus pitches as long as he's not getting hit. This has become a pitching-friendly park. I don't mind taking a stab at Mike Minor at a decent price. And that's really all I like in the mid-tier.
Yeah, there really wasn't a ton that I was interested in either. I think, so Tyler Malley, weather-wise, was someone I was considering just to get a small exposure to, just because we've seen, like last year, there are certain times where he does things that you don't think he's capable of doing. And the Cubs are one of those teams, similar to the Braves. Their numbers are really good against righties, except for the strikeouts. The Cubs, I think, are like 3rd in the league right now in strikeouts to righties. So he was somebody I was going to consider. We have a wet field. Oh, by the way, just a quick update. They did delay the Philly game a little bit, so they're going to start it at 7:15. Did you get him? Did you get his ass?
Yeah,
Holla.
I did.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I got it.
But yeah, so they moved the game to 7:15. That's not really a delay to me. It's not like, oh, delay until we see what happens. That tells me that okay, they need some time to get the field straight, but they're going to try to start it on time. So I think I'm good on the Phillies game. Anyway, well, with that said. So Malley, I'll reduce his ownership a little bit because when you think about it, it's like I'm taking all this risk already. Do I really need weather risk on top of all that shit? Like I'm already taking a risk with the fucking player. So other than that, it's really Corbin Burns for me, man. The Pirates have been horrendous. They've been really, really bad offensively. It was like let me pull up my shit. There was some really nasty, ugly, dirty numbers for Corbin Burns. I'm sorry for the Pirates. The Pirates are currently 9th in strikeouts to righties. At the 24.8%. They have a 109 ISO and a 250 WOBA with a WRC plus of 55. That is extremely shitty. So I do like Corbin Burns. Corbin Burns himself has a 33% strikeout rate this season. He's got a 14.7% walk rate. That's an issue. That's real high. I think the walks is what's leading his xFIP to be up to the 4.54 range, which is really high. However, if we look at what this Corbin Burns. However, if we look at what this Pirates team has done so far this season, they're really not taking walks at all. We've got one player whose walk rate is above 10%, which is a healthy walk rate. The next closest is a 7.5. So this team just doesn't walk. They're striking out more than we're accustomed to. And as I said, they have like a 109 ISO and a 250 WOBA against righties right now. So this park is small, all that good shit. Burns is definitely my favorite mid-tier option where you can make it work. What about Value Town?
Hey, do you have any interest in Haney before we go to V-Town?
No, in fact, well, I would have, except I played Haney his last 3 starts, and he's been like the worst pitcher on the slate. So I actually like the Mariners. I was going back and forth all day with whether I play the Mariners bats. I decided that I'm fine with the Mariners bets. I decided to pull them out of my top 5, but I still haven't brought myself to play Heaney. It does look like Heaney's going to be a little popular, which I was surprised. Like I don't want to say like the chalk, but when I looked at projected ownerships, he was up there. I guess because his price and again a weak mid tier. What are your thoughts on Heaney?
I don't know. Is Seattle's lineup out?
That's a good question. No, it's not out. Here's the other thing, like that we'll talk about with the bats, but there's also like the narrative thing, right? Seattle's got more black players than anyone. That's why they took the lead and were one of the first teams to kind of cancel. I don't know. Is there any motivation there? Like, are they going to go out there and try to pour on the runs, or maybe it's the opposite? Maybe they're pissed that they're playing, and I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I want to see their lineup before I make a final decision on that, but I don't know. I'm finding it hard to believe the Mariners are as good as they've performed so far, and I think they come back down to earth. Doesn't mean it's gonna happen today, but let's wait and see what that lineup looks like, and then we can circle back. How about
that sounds good.
Okay. Value. There's a couple guys down here that I do like. I think this slate is really conducive to like the double pay down at pitcher and then just load up on bats, because you have Tristan Mckenzie, stud rookie right-handed prospect against a weak lineup St. Louis Cardinals. We have Nick Marjovicius. I don't really like taking lefties against Angels, but he's looked damn good. We got Sixto Sanchez at 5'9", who throws like 100-mile-per-hour heat. He's one of the top touted prospect pitchers around the industry. 5'9" in a good pitching park. This guy's got to be the most popular pitcher on the slate, but maybe guys don't know him, so maybe he won't be. And then you got boom bust Reynaldo Lopez. We could take a shot on that too. I like Sixto and McKenzie a lot more, but I think he's a viable option. Although I don't know how many pitches they'll let him go.
100%. I think that's really what does it for me for Ronaldo is the pitch count. A little nervous about he had like one game, then he got hurt, and then he had one more game. He threw 50 pitches in that game against Chicago. He wasn't great, right? Three innings in the third, 2 earned runs. Did have 4 Ks, but we just don't know. Maybe he stretched out to 60, but it's hard to see him throwing any more than 70 today. With that said, yeah. I agree with you that the people who don't play Heaney as the SP2 are probably going to play this Cleveland kid, Tristan Mckenzie, who was awesome in his debut. The game was against, what do you call it? It was against the Tigers, so we don't want to, overreact, but still, that was impressive. And I'm not expecting a 33 on DraftKings, but if he can get me a 15, 16, that's beautiful for his price. So I'm with you. I'll have a lot of them. I expect him to be popular. According to projected ownerships, I'm seeing Scherzer, Heaney, and McKenzie as the most popular. So I think for the people that try the double spend down, we could see like Heaney and McKenzie be a popular combination in that scenario.
What do you see Sanchez's ownership at?
It was higher earlier. It has dropped down a little bit, but it was higher earlier. They got him right under those guys. So at about 17%. So I'm seeing like Scherzer and then Heaney and McKenzie and then Sanchez. So I guess he's like everybody's third option before you get into like pivots from Scherzer like Zach Gallen, etc.
Right. Okay.
But at the end of the day, there's plenty of ways to get different on a 12-game slate. But yeah, he's the guy I'll have the most of. What's his name? McKenzie. McKenzie. I think Sixto's fine though. He was pretty impressive in his first start too, and he's cheap, and he's got a great park at home against the Tampa. What about the bats?
Yeah, so I like Milwaukee as like a contrarian, low-owned, the cheaper kind of stack to make things work if you're trying to get Scherzer and a mid-tier kind of pitcher. I think this could be a breakout spot for them against Derek Holland in the good hitting park. I really like the Cubs, so we're gonna have to talk that one out a little bit. Like, Malley to me is very similar to like the Scalzi, a guy that gets beat up by lefties, very good to righties, and the Cubs have a bunch of left-handed power, and then once you get into the pen, you get a bunch of garbage that they can just continue to pour on against, and we got a good hitting park with humid weather. I really like the Cubs bats quite a bit. I'm cool with the Rockies. I'm not really that into San Diego, to be honest, but I'd be all right with a few of them. But I do like the Rockies in the Coors game. And what else did I like? It was like, I like Arizona in like a revenge spot against this scrub Tyler Anderson, who went complete game against them. I love taking Arizona against lefties, especially ones I don't really respect. And if we are confident in the weather in the White Sox game, I think we should consider the White Sox against lefties anytime they're against a lefty. Those are probably my favorite ones. I don't think I'm leaving anything out. Yeah, those are my favorite spots right there offensively.
Not too different. I mean, the Cubs thing, it's not that I love Malley, but when we're looking for pitchers that have low ownership and have a ceiling, Malley does have a ceiling. I hate to admit it, but it wouldn't surprise me if he did strike out. It wouldn't surprise me if he gave up 10 runs, but it wouldn't surprise me if he struck out 10 guys either, assuming that game plays. I'm not as high on the Cubs overall, just more because even though it's a great park, there were just other offenses I liked a little bit more. But I'm by no means am I against the Cubs and in favor of Malley. It was more of like I needed pitching more than I needed bats. Like I have enough bats. I have a lot of bats I like. Pitching, there wasn't a ton. So you try to find some options that could be low owned and give you some upside. But there's no argument to me. I'm not like arguing for, Malley hard enough to where it matters. My favorite offense is the White Sox against Duffy. Duffy's been really good, but he's an extreme fly ball pitcher. He's not in his Kansas City big-ass park. He's in Chicago, a very small park. The White Sox numbers against lefties right now, and granted, they could change over time, whatever. Right now, they're absurd. They got a 304 ISO. They have a 170 WRC+, plus, a 418 WOBA, and only a 21.5% K rate. So they strike out significantly more against righties than lefties. Their numbers are just astronomical. I think they're going to pound Duffy today. They're not really striking out. That's how Duffy gets by. He gives up hard contact and fly balls. That's not how Duffy is not a contact guy. You need him striking dudes out. And I think the White Sox are going to put it to him. They're my favorite stack. I think the weather holds up. I'm not a fucking weatherman, but I think it holds up. So they're my favorite. After that, I'm with you on the D-backs. I think the D-backs, they've seen this guy too many times already. They just saw him a bunch of times. I mean, we're talking about the guy went 9 innings, and yeah, he dominated. The D-backs are one of the more interesting teams on this in general this year. So they've been awful against lefties, which is totally uncharacteristic. But they're not striking out. They're one of the lowest strikeout rates against lefties in the league. They just suck. They have a 62 WRC+, plus, a 264 WOBA, a .093 ISO to lefties. That's so crazy. Like this team last year was one of the best teams against lefties, and I expect them to go back to that at some point. And I'm willing to chase it because aside from it's not just a regular lefty, Tyler Anderson. I mean, this guy's numbers are fucking horrible. Right now, even with the complete game, Tyler Anderson has a 6.07 xFIP, a 16% K rate. He's got a 29% ground ball rate. We're talking about a 43.5% fly ball rate. What's that?
Yeah, he's not
good.
He's not good.
So I think that things balance out, and as bad as they were against him last time, I expect them to do just as good this time. So I like the D-backs also, and the roof is open. So holla for $1. Need that money for tomorrow. After that, the Phillies are a team I like. Robbie Erlin is an extreme fly ball pitcher. If the weather holds up and we get this game in, Irvin, we have like 74-degree dew points with an extreme fly ball pitcher. Not to mention he's a lefty. The Phillies are another one of those teams that absolutely smoke left-handed pitching this year. The Phillies have a 218 ISO, a 127 WRC+, plus, a 360 WOBA, and only a 20.4% strikeout rate, which should help negate Erlin's 28% strikeout rate. So I think they're going to lift the ball in the air and hit it hard. And not to mention Philly already, they have a lot of fly ball hitters to begin with. So it's a small park, 74-degree dew points, and a left-handed pitcher. Philly does well against lefties. The last team I'll talk about here in terms of my top 5 or whatever is the Padres. I did lean towards the Padres. Part of me really wanted to just fade the game. And I think I would have faded the game if it wasn't for the weather, as fucked up as that sounds. I've just seen it happen too many times where everybody stays away from Coors because it has bad weather, and that's the fucking day that it goes nuts. So I'm a little afraid to not have any exposure to Coors. Let me ask. There is one team I wanted your thoughts about though.
Got one too.
Okay, cool. So I'll do mine and then you do yours. You show me mine, and I'll show you yours. First up. The Washington Nationals, I wanted your thoughts on. So this is not a pretty team. We don't play them that often anymore, right? They just don't have a lot of players we're into. However, we're talking about the numbers against lefties. The Nationals have the third highest ISO against lefties at 231. They've got a 132 WRC plus, a 373 WOBA, an 18.9% strikeout rate. Martin Perez, as trolly as he's been, and if you follow his game logs, his numbers look pretty decent. He still has a 5.68 xFIP. He's got a 40.9% fly ball rate and a 37.5% hard contact rate. So they were the team. If I was going to move the Padres, the Nationals would be the first ones in for me. But I'm afraid every time I pick on this Perez motherfucker, I pay for it. Every time. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts on the Nats?
I don't mind it. I've really kind of just glazed over them. I'm just like in cruise control. Martin Perez, all right, I don't pick on it unless it's a super powerful right-handed team. I'd use the Yankees or the White Sox against Martin Perez, but most other teams I don't. I think I almost think like the value plays could be like interesting, like as a 3-man or even like a 5 where you play like Michael Taylor, Josh Harrison, Kurt Suzuki, and maybe one stud, you know what I mean? And where you're getting exposure to like a different part of the lineup, not even just for contrarian, but, it's like, so you use money for other players on your roster and still have some exposure to this spot. Perez really doesn't get stolen based on, so like that negates a little bit of Trey Turner's effectiveness. I don't mind it. It probably would be like on the cusp and not making it in for me as well.
Yeah, that's exactly where I'm at. What's the offense that you got on the outside right now?
The Royals. So like I mentioned, we could use Reynaldo Lopez, but like, he's as boom bust as it gets. And like usually when he gets hit, it's with a long ball. We've got these humid conditions in Chicago, and the White Sox bullpen is not good. This guy's probably not going to go very far. And the Royals, they're actually like 1 or 2 good hitters away from having a really dangerous lineup. Now that Hunter Dozier's back in here, you got Soler, you got Whit Merrifield, Adalberto Mondesi, who's been terrible, but, was awesome all last year. He bats 7th. Alex Gordon, who's like mega cheap. You have any interest there?
Yeah, I mean, I think the Royals are very interesting against Ronaldo. What worries me is the White Sox have the third lowest xFIP bullpen. Their bullpen has the third lowest. Their bullpen's been really impressive this year. That's the only thing that worries me. And it's one thing, if it was a really good offense, I wouldn't give a fuck. But it is the Royals, a team that we'd be taking a chance on. But I don't disagree in that, if you get to Ronaldo Lopez early enough, and it may not take much, right? Because he may only throw 60 pitches today. You may see a different type of bullpen. We may see some long relieving guys that weren't good enough to make the starting lineup, but aren't really bullpen guys either. And we have a small park. So, and then if the game gets out of hand, all bets are off, right? Who cares? They're going to throw in whoever to save arms. So, I really don't hate them, but I don't necessarily like them more than the guys we've mentioned. But I do think that pricing wise, they could help you do a lot. You could probably, I'm thinking you can. I didn't look at the prices of them that much, but I'm thinking you could probably find a way to get like a Scherzer Gallen, with at least a few of the guys from that team, right? Which is kind of interesting. If both those guys go out and post 30s, then you don't need the Royals to go for 20, 30 apiece. You just need double digits. That's it.
Right. Yeah.
So that's definitely an interesting approach. We'll get into some questions after we do the Dong Watch. First, we're going to do some home runs. Paulie, who's going deep?
Jed Gayorka.
I like that. I do like that one. Profile looked really nice today. I'll go with Jose Abreu.
Okay. I will take Mm, no. I give me Ian Happ.
I could dig it. I will go with. Give me Ketel Marte.
I knew it.
You knew it was coming.
I was gonna finish the sentence.
You knew it was
I
coming.
really was.
You know it was coming.
Because I like Payne, I'm gonna say Josh Bell.
Josh Bell, holla. I like Payne as well, so I'll say Ryan Braun because I've just had the worst luck with this guy. I don't know. It seems rare that I get Braun right, but no Christian Yelich in the lineup, if you noticed. I guess he's taking the. I'm assuming he's continuing his protest. He was one of the more vocal players. Is with the thing about these protests, it's good to see a lot of the players come together and everybody take a stand. I don't know if you saw what the Mets did, but the Mets thing was pretty powerful. The Mets and Marlins said that they went out there, 42 seconds, and it was pretty powerful stuff. But then there's always like the opportunists, and like teams are part of this too, and they take the guys who got labeled as racist at one point in their career, and they put them as like the forefront of like speaking against. This is their chance to make it up. Like Josh Hader,
the Brewers. Yeah.
Hader got in trouble for the racist tweets, and then they have him like talking about the thing, and I mean, listen, I'm not saying like what he's supposed to do, just be a racist the rest of your life. Like it's good that it's just funny how things like that work out. But anyway, let's see if there's any questions. Pop on through here. Brian Campbell says Astros stack. Bassett very inconsistent. Any interest in the Astros?
Not really. Not for me. I don't love Bassett, but I feel like he does very rarely gets blown up, and we just have a ton of other stuff that I'm more interested in.
That game to me just screams mediocre. Right? Like yes. I feel like we'll get a lot of mediocrity from that game. And I could be dead wrong, but I feel like Bassett's going to give a mediocre performance. I feel like the Astros offense will give you a mediocre performance. I think McCullers is going to be mediocre, and the A's. Like I could see that being like a straight up like 3-4 game, like something like that, where like the pitchers didn't get enough strikeouts to make it count. The hitters were like just kind of too average because like you said about McCullers, like McCullers are struggling. Like he don't look right. Like something looks wrong. And the A's, however, are also struggling. Their numbers don't look anywhere. Yesterday was Oakland Athletic Day, and the game got canceled. That's the one thing that upsets me is we were robbed of a Lyle start. That's that guy has been fucking awful. Like that guy's just automatic money. It's automatic.
I'll say one thing. Will Myers is 4-1 in Coors, coming off a game-winning home run the other day against Freeland, a guy he's seen a ton. Like that's got to be one of like the better value plays for Coors situation, right? The guy's been hitting awesome this year.
Definitely a guy I think you put in really cash games 100%, right? Like, he's just too cheap.
Yeah, just batting fifth. Let's go.
He's just too cheap. Tony A says the Nats lineup sucks. It does suck, but with this shitty lineup, they're posting the third highest ISO in the league against lefties. I agree with you. That's the reason the Nats. It's so easy for me to boot the Nats out. But, I mean, like, it's the same thing to Steven Matz all over again. I'm not comparing Matz necessarily to Perez, but they're not that different. It's just that Matz just throws you meatballs down the middle and just eats the hard contact, whereas Martin Perez seems to flirt around it somehow. But, what else? Myron Kidd, Don Call, Keston Hiura. I like that one. I like that. I do like that.
Definitely.
Myron also said the Royals are interesting. Paulie talked about them as well. I think we're on the fence with them. Alex Diaz, give me E5. Yes, Encarnacion. I'm cool with that. I prefer Abreu against the lefty, but I mean, I'm not going to argue with you over E5. You know what I mean? Dirty doing. Yeah. Myron.
Play them both on
FanDuel. Yeah. Play them both on FanDuel. Myron got the hint when we were talking before we dropped Hader. He got the hint. He said, cough, Josh Hader. Yeah, exactly. That's it. Myron Kidd, you think Seattle is sneaky, or are they going to be tired from yesterday? That's a great point. There was a lot of travel involved here. Both teams had to travel. Both teams had a doubleheader. Well, did Seattle travel? Yeah. They're playing in the Angels. They had to travel.
Yeah, they're on the road. They definitely travel.
100%. I think Seattle is interesting, man. Especially if Heaney is going to be as popular as places are projecting him to be. They were right on the outside. I had them in my article at least 3 or 4 times, and I kept taking them out because I found other teams I like more. It's hard to get yourself to look at the Royals or Seattle and say, yeah, this is where I'm hanging my fucking head today. It's hard on a 12-game slate to do that, but they are sneaky.
If it was a smaller slate,
Yes.
we would definitely.
They'd have more appeal. Or Stevie Brown would say they'd be more appealing. Also, the Angels' bullpen's been trash, so that's fine. That's fine. But I don't see any other questions, Nation. Please hit the like button on your way out. We appreciate you guys hanging out with us. I'm glad that I didn't have this crazy 70-mile-an-hour winds that were supposed to knock out my power. So right now, the coast is looking clear. Paulie, anything in closing before we get up out of here, bro?
No, have a good weekend. Stay safe. Do thy dirty. We out of here.
That's it. For Paulie D, for myself, the entire Wise Take Nation, as always, good luck.